Oh, dear God, use me today as an instrument of your mercy and of your peace, and allow me to help someone in this room tonight. My name is Milt Loring. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a member of the Newberg Group in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, Milt.
I'm here today to tell you a story. I'm here today to tell you a story of alcoholism as it was and is in my life. But before I do that, I'd like to thank the committee for inviting me to come out here, and I'd like to thank Judy for the wonderful time, and Bill and his wife, and Dave, and my ma for not believing in abortion, there's a couple of things I think we should clear up real quick. One is I ain't a public speaker. One is I ain't an educated guy. I have no idea why anybody would ask me to lead a meeting. The only thing that I know for sure is, this is the only thing I know for sure, is that in 1970 or 1971 or 1972, I sat in a cell in one of Ohio's penitentiaries, and I made a deal with God that if you keep me sober, because I found out that that's the secret to AA. If you keep me sober, I'll tell everybody how I do that. Now, I had no idea sitting in that cell on the 1 to 20 shooting charge that he would want me to come out to such a beautiful area with such wonderful people and enjoy myself so much. I have no idea where God wants me to go. All I got to do is just be willing to do that. That's all I got to do. That's all I got to do. I'm here today to tell you a story. I'm here today to tell you a story. Alcoholism, as it was and is in my life, possibly one of the most important things I can tell you about my drinking, and I believe it might very well be the most important thing. It's this, is that if I had the power to not pick up the first drink, I mean, if I really had the power on my own to not drink, I'd have never come to Alcoholics Anonymous. Why would I? Why would I want to come here if I can stop drinking on my own? That doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I don't get it. So you must know this, that I know I am powerless over alcohol. You got to know that. You got to know that. More important than that is that I got to know that, and I knew it before you knew it. I knew it before you knew it. You see, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says something like this. It says, the chapter to the agnostic and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. And this is a personal adventure. And I hope to make clear these 3 pertinent ideas. A, that I'm alcoholic and not manage my own life. B, that no human power could have relieved my alcoholism. And C, that God could and would, if he were sought. If I can make clear those 3 pertinent ideas, I believe that's the outline for every story in the back of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, how I come to find this power of God. How I come to find this power of God. That's a common thread that runs through all those stories. I made a decision to stop drinking on January the 15th of 1970. The fact that I made that decision in the city jail had nothing to do with the decision. If there's anything I can tell you about jail, it's I jailed well. I did exceedingly well in jail. Not well out here, but very well in jail. So if it wasn't jail that made this guy want to stop drinking, they might be saying to themselves, what was it? If it wasn't shootings that made him want to stop, and it wasn't. If it wasn't hospitals, and it wasn't, what could possibly have made this guy want to stop drinking? And the fact is this, I lost control of my life. I lost control of my life, and it really is that simple. Oh, I'll give you this. My life was out of control long before January the 15th. I just didn't know it. I didn't know it. Anything that was ever wrong with me was your fault. And if it's your fault, I don't have to take responsibility for it, and I don't have to change it. It's that simple. Once I realized that my drinking was my problem and it was something that I had to deal with, I decided to stop drinking. Now, I'm dumb, but I ain't stupid. If I'm going to go through all of this pain and drinking is causing it, then I'm going to stop drinking. Now, I'm not one of them loving, kind, generous guys. If my drinking is causing you a problem, I don't care. Okay. I'm selfish and I'm self-centered and I have absolutely no thought about anyone else but me, and that really is the simplest part of my life. That's the simplest part about my life. It's all for me and none for you. So I sat in that cell after. Now see, I like to drink. Let me clarify that. I really must have, because I dedicated everything I had to drink, and I didn't waste any of my youth on growing up. None. I squandered it all foolishly. Who would have thought that I was going to live to be this old? I mean, if I would have known I was going to be this old, I'd have taken better care of myself. Who would have thought? See, I like to drink. I really dedicated all my time, all my effort, all my money. Everything went into drinking, all of it. Everything went into drinking. So for making a decision to stop drinking is a big decision, because that means I'll have to really change the whole course of my whole life. Really change my whole standards and values and everything that I've better live by and dedicated my life to. I have to change it all around. And see, I like to drink, but I like to get on drunks. I like to get on benders. I like to go off. I would months at a time. I would drink for months at a time and do nothing else. I mean, what else is there better to do to drink? So that's what I would do, is I would drink. And this is exactly what happened, and I got on one of these drunks. Now, this is January the 15th, and in this LS drunk started in '69. This drunk started at the end of November, beginning of December 1969, and it started like any other drunk. I just picked up a drink, and it just seemed the right thing to do, and I kept rolling with it. I kept rolling with it. Now, I've been on these drunks. This ain't nothing new. I know the routine. You just enjoy. You don't push. You don't shove. You just go with it. You don't have to do nothing. Just keep drinking. But something happened on this drunk, devastating stuff. Stuff happened so quick, I didn't know what to do. I got caught by it. 2 weeks into this drunk, I ain't sleeping no more. It's the most unusual thing, you know. When you drink 16, 18, 20 hours a day, you lay down, you expect to sleep. You expect to sleep. Well, I'm up at, I lay down at 3 o'clock. I lay down, I'm so tired, I lay down with my clothes on. And I'm so tired that I sleep the whole night through, wake up, and it's only an hour later. See, something is wrong. I don't know exactly what's wrong. I'm not sure I know what's wrong. I don't really know what's wrong, but I'm pacing the floor. I'm pacing the floor, and I'm asking myself, what's the deal here? I should be sound asleep. I don't know. I don't get it. And little did I know that I needed to drink more than I needed sleep. You see, that's the secret. My body is telling me have a drink, and I don't know what it's telling me. I don't know what it's telling me. So I would lay back down and sleep the rest of the night through, and wake up and be an hour and a half later. And I'm really starting to get confused now. You know, after a week of living like this, after a week of laying down with your clothes on, laying down and waking up and pacing the floor, smoking cigarettes till you burn your fingers because you lose track of what you're doing, confused a lot, just confused a lot. Sweating profusely in the middle of winter. Something is wrong here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But I need to drink more than I need to go to sleep. That's exactly what the story is. So I wake up and it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I need a drink, see. So I really hit out the door. I hit out the door, and I don't have to waste time getting dressed because I'm already ready rolled. I mean, I went to bed with my clothes on. I get in the joint, and I get a couple of shooters in me, and I feel a little bit better, and I stop this awful shaking. You know, the shaking is starting now. I don't get it. I've always had the shakes till I stuck my hand out. Once I stuck my hand out and seen I wasn't shaking, then I knew it was just a little tremors inside, you know, just a little inside deal. It will go away after a few drinks, but now I'm shaking outside. Couple of drinks now, I'm okay now, and I'm thinking to myself, I better slow down, I better stop, I better check out, see something's wrong here. Something's wrong. So and the same thing would happen the next day and the next day and the next day. So what I'm trying to tell you is this, is that I'm not sleeping, and I'm not changing my clothes. And if I'm not changing my clothes, I'm not taking a bath. See, now there's nothing wrong with stinking. Really, there's nothing wrong with stinking, but if you know it's you. See, if you know it's you. See, I would smell myself, and I would say, yeah, you know, and I knew it was me, and I couldn't stop it. You understand what I'm saying to you? You know what I'm saying to you. I knew it was me and couldn't help myself. I needed to drink more than I needed to change my clothes, and I needed to drink more than I needed to take a bath. I couldn't take a bath. I couldn't change my clothes, and that's how elementary my drinking is. It's the dumbest guy drinking I've ever seen in my life. I just drink till I can't drink no more. That's all. I'm not an intelligent drinker. If I could have drank 500 gallons a day, I would have drank 500 gallons a day. My brain never interfered with my drinking at all. I always drank to capacity. Always. I never drank more on Saturdays than I drank on New Year's. I mean, I always drank you might have bought more on New Year's, but I couldn't drink any more than I did. Drink any more than I did. It's a simple story. I don't know what I'm doing here. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I'm not eating. After a while, I really know how this happens. A bag of chips in a Smoky, I put some ketchup on top of that. It's like the breakfast of champions. I can go on days on just ketchup and Smokies and chips. Smokies and chips. And this is not a unique experience. I was talking to a drunk last week who is now drying out, and he's telling me how he cuts up Smokies and put it in bouillon broth. to make a meat soup. He's an Italian, though. See, them Italians, they're crafty. I would have never thought of that. I never thought of that. What a great idea. So here I am a month into this drunk, and I stink, and my clothes are dirty, and I haven't changed my clothes, and I'm not eating, and I'm not sleeping, and worst of all, and I mean as worst of all, is I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't like being confused. In my neighborhood, being confused makes you almost like a three-legged dog. You're prey for the four-legged dogs. And I didn't like being confused, and I couldn't think. I couldn't think things out. I'd be standing at the bar, and these guys would be talking back and forth, and I'd be listening to the conversation and say, "What do you think?" I had the answer. Now, don't think I didn't have the answer. I had the answer, but I couldn't get it from my brain to my tongue. You see, I couldn't get it from my mind to my mouth. I couldn't make this happen, so I would slow myself down and pick and choose my words and put it all together and rehearse it, and I would blurt the answer out. Well, it's 15 minutes later. It's 15 minutes from when they asked the question. So they'd get up and walk away, because they didn't know. Now I know this is happening to me, but I can't stop it from happening to me. You understand that? I can see this happening, and I know this is happening. This is happening. I would stand and look at the bathroom, and I would say to myself, "You got to go to the bathroom," and I would lose track of that thought. Somebody had wet my pants. It took me years to tell that story in Alcoholics Anonymous. My pride was so great I wouldn't divulge to you that I had wet my pants. It wasn't a big tough guy deal. It wasn't a tough guy deal. So here I am in this condition that I just described to you, and I know that alcohol's the problem, but I also notice about being on drunks. You just don't get off of them. You just don't say, "Well, I'm done now," or "I'll quit tomorrow." I tried that. I really am. This always reminds me of this. At 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, I get a couple in me, I straighten out, I shake down, and there's just like a brief period when you almost have some faculties about you until you lapse into this kind of a condition. If you know what I mean. I'm not talking to the Elks Club here. You know what I'm talking about. And I would be in that condition. I would be in that condition where I was just a little better and not yet off rolling again. And I would turn that glass over. I said, "I got to stop this stuff. This stuff has got to stop. I can't go on like this." Now I'm holding this conversation with myself. That's the important thing to know loudly. I'm holding this conversation with myself. I turn the glass over. I walk out to the car, start the car, shut the car off, walk back in the joint and have a drink. There's no way I can get off drunks like this. I mean, it's not like I say so, I get off this drunk, and I know that. But I know that when I'm done drinking, whenever that might be, for whatever reason, whether I'm too god-awful sick that I can't take another one, or some factor outside myself interferes with this, when I'm done drinking, I ain't going to drink no more. And I carried that in front of my mind. Carried that in front of my mind. And January the 15th happened to be the day I was done drinking. They picked me up and they put me in a cell, in a whole row of empty cells, because they were mad at me. I've been on this drunk a month and a half, going into 2 months on this drunk. They put me in the cell and they wouldn't charge me, because if they charged me, they'd have to bond me. So they held me on 72 hours in suspicion, because they didn't know if the guy was going to live or die. They didn't know exactly what the condition of the case was going to be, so they wouldn't charge me. They held me. They held me. They held me for 72 hours. They held me for 3 days. They held me for 3 days without a drink, and man, I shook. And I sweated. Man, I was sick. I had the runs and the heaves and the dry heaves and the shakes, and I had everything that every drunk in this room has ever had, except the DTs. I mean, I had it all. I had it all. But I sobered up. And it didn't cost me $18,000. You see, so what I suppose what I'm saying to you is that if you got a new guy and he really is sick and he really wants to stop drinking and he really don't have 18 grand and he really don't have Blue Cross, I say punch a cop. It'll sober you up. See, now I always come off whiskey hard. I always come off whiskey hard. I always did. I always come off whiskey hard. After you get done throwing up everything you can throw up, you get them god-awful dry heaves, and it runs at the same time. You got to be quick on your feet to do all of this stuff. And I really have had more than once seemed like part of my intestines and my toenails come up under dry heaves. Terrible, brutal stuff. Just brutal stuff. Brutal stuff. But I sobered up, you understand. That's the whole point, ain't it? Is that I sobered up. Is that now I'm in sober, I've got control of my life. Now that I'm sober, I know that I don't want to drink no more. And I remember what I said, I ain't going to drink no more. And I remember what I've been through, and I don't like what I've been through, and I ain't going to drink no more. I made that decision. And I'll tell you something about male pride. Male pride is a deadly thing. Male pride is an absolutely deadly thing. I've known a lot of good men die for no other reason but their pride. For no other reason but their pride. And that day in that cell, I'm telling you, the cell was nothing but a steel cot and a down bowl. That's all it was, a steel cot and a down bowl. And even when I got done doing whatever I was going to do, I would have to kneel down in that toilet, wash that sweat off my face, and I'd have to rinse my mouth out with the water from that toilet. And I'm telling you that they hurt my pride. If there's anything cements a man's decision, it's you walked on my pride. And I knew that never humiliate me like this again. That never get the opportunity to degrade me and put me in this kind of position where I'm drinking out of a toilet like some dumb dog. Ain't gonna do this to me no more. I'll never drink again. Never drink again. And I drew up a little plan on what I'm going to do to change my life. I figured I'm going to have to make some changes, you see, because obviously, the way I was living, was nothing but dedicated towards drinking. And now that I ain't going to drink it no more, drinking is not a question. That's out of the picture because I said so. I said so. I'll never drink no more. That's sufficient. It has always been sufficient in anybody's circles I've ever run into. And I think the will of the man is underrated. I really think it's underrated. I think the greatest source of strength and power we have on the face of the earth is our willpower. God has given us a free will, and we can exercise it in any way we want to. And there are those who are notorious, and I am one of those, for this will, inflicting it on other people. You can call me stubborn and hard-headed and pig-headed or bull-headed or whatever term you want to use. You know somebody just like that. You see him in the mirror every morning, probably. I mean, but this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. I said so, and that's enough for the world, and that's just the way I felt about it. Drinking is no longer a problem. It's not even a question. Drinking, as far as I'm done, is concerned, is I'm done with. I underestimated the enemy, is what I'm trying to say to you. I had no idea what I was dealing with. I don't know if I thought I had an ingrown toenail or what. I don't know what I thought I had, but I said to the whiskey, I ain't going to drink no more, and that's the end of it. I walk out of this jail with a new plan in my head. The new plan is a very simple, obvious plan, is that I think I should get a job and go to work every day. That's a simple, obvious plan. Now, that's a two-part plan. Getting a job and going to work every day. See, I always had some kind of job. I just didn't go to work every day. Why would I work 5 days if I only needed 3-day pay? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If I run a little short, I just steal your coat, baby. That's all I do. That's all I would do. I steal your coat. There's nothing unusual about that. What the heck? Huh? What do you think? Of course you would. I would. I did. I have no problem with that. I always come back after I sold it at the next joint down the street, come back and buy you a drink. And because I'm not a mean guy. I just need a drink. That's all I need. So I figured I'd get a job and go to work every day. I had a lot of friends who were a lot of heavy drinkers, a lot of big drinkers, a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of action guys. And they would get married and their whole lives would change. I mean, their whole lives would change. They'd get houses, cars, kids, educations. I have this effect on women. I don't know what it is. These guys who get married, they have houses, cars, kids, educations, their whole lives would change. You can see it, obviously they would change, so I felt that's what I needed to do. And that's a joke, because I couldn't take care of a gerbil. How could I possibly take care of a relationship that demanded a vow? I couldn't. My cactus plants would die from not being watered. And they still do. And they still do. But I felt that if I did these things, that would happen. Now, I had to pull out neighbor. And this guy would go bowling 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes 5 times a week. And the cops was never at his house. And they were always coming to my house. And he never threw his refrigerator out of his kitchen window. And I did. And I never seen his couch go out his living room window. and mine did. So I went bowling. Now I say this to you because I hated bowling. I hated bowling as much as I hated work. See, what I'm saying to you is this: is I have a sincere desire to stay sober. And that's not a lip deal. That's not one of these off-the-lip sincere desires. I have a sincere desire to stay sober and a willingness to do anything that I have to do in order to stay sober. And I've proven that before I come here. I've done things I didn't like to do, didn't want to do, because I felt that that's what I had to do in order to stay sober, then that's what I would do. Whether I liked it or not was not important. It's what did I have to do. What I have to do. And I tell you honestly, if that 3 little steps of sobriety would have worked for me, I would not be here tonight. I'm powerless over alcohol and my life is unmanageable, and I know that. I know that, not because the book says so, and it does. Not because the leads which what you have had up here says so, and they do. But because I learned that the way I learned everything else. The hard way. The hard way. The hard way. So now I'm out of the cell, I got this plan, and I did everything I said I was going to do. I went and got a job, and I got this responsibility, and I stole a bowling ball, and I did everything I said I was going to do. All right, I'll give you this. I had no idea what to do sober. I had no idea how to live sober. I had no idea how to think sober. I had no idea what to do. I was confused. Go out to Buffalo. They got a zoo in Buffalo. They got a zoo. Go to New York City. New York City is a zoo. Go to the zoo. Go to the zoo. Go to the zoo. Go to where they keep the tigers. Look at the tigers in them cages. This is what that tiger's doing. This is tiger's always doing. Like, that ain't a happy tiger. That tiger is restless, irritable, and discontented. And that's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was. I was like a tiger in a cage, restless, irritable, and awfully upset. Awfully upset. I couldn't think, I couldn't move, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do with myself. Just didn't know what to do. Well, I believe I did what every real man does. I started to remodel. If there's anything at all that I know about remodeling, it's a 2-part deal. One is construction, and one is destruction, and one is construction. And I know an awful lot about destruction. I know nothing at all about construction. I also lived on rent and failed to notify the landlord. I ripped the whole wall down. Ripped the wall down. Got the wall down, and then I didn't know what to do with the wall once I got it down. The project was getting it down. Now I got it down, and I don't know what to do with it. Besides that, behind the wall's wires, and I don't like wires, so I was lost. So I did what I think every real man does who doesn't know anything about construction. I ripped another wall down. It's funny now. My house looked like a checkerboard. I ripped the wall on here, one up there, one down there, one ain't down, one ain't down. I mean, it just goes on. I just had so much, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do anything. I sponsored a guy, and it's not unusual stuff, you understand? It just ain't unusual stuff. I sponsored a guy, a wife with 5 kids. He sobered up 2 weeks and he's going to remodel. I thought to the man's man. This is a real man. This is a real AA. Here, buddy. And he took out the bathroom sink. For 2 years, his wife and kids knelt down in the tub, brushed their teeth, washed their face, 5 kids and a wife. And she would say to me, "Get him to do something!" I'll take him to a meeting. Seems to be doing okay to me. To the best of my knowledge, he's never put the sink in yet, but he bought a new home. Oh. So you got the idea. Here I am. My house is ripped apart. My world is in chaos, but I ain't drinking, and that's important for me. It's real important for me. I mean, I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I got a job, went to work every day. I got this stupid bowling ball. I'm remodeling the house. That Pollock went bowling. I stole the cabinet out of his garage while he was bowling. It was a really nice cabinet, and I was going to remodel that. I never did anything. See, I'm an alcoholic. I mean, I'm a real alcoholic. I'm in a chronic and progressed stage of alcoholism. And I can do something about my finances, I can do something about my romances, I can do something about my recreation, I can do something about my wardrobe. But if I don't do nothing at all about my alcoholism, I'm going to get drunk. Now, I don't tell you that because the big book says that, and it does. And I don't tell you that because these leads tell you that, and they do. I tell you that because I learned that like I learned everything else. Hard way. Hard way. I got a new wardrobe, got a new car, got a new money, got all kinds of relations, got all this stuff going on for me, and all of that's like putting a tuxedo on a pig. Putting a tuxedo on a pig. All dressed up on the outside, and ain't nothing changed on the inside. And the very nature of alcoholism is to drink. That's the nature of the beast. That's just the way it is. There ain't no other way. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And after 30 days of living like I just told you, confused, living like I just told you, but I ain't drinking. But I ain't drinking. Hell, neither's my parakeets. I got 2 parakeets. They ain't never had a drink in their lives. Neither are they. Neither are they. Guy pulled up in front of the house. He said, "Hey, you want to go for a ride?" A couple of guys in the car. I said, "Sure, I'll go for a ride." Started driving down the street. They stopped and got a 6-pack of 3-2 beers. Said, "You want a beer?" Now, I have a sincere desire to stay sober. I have a willingness to do anything that I have to do. I have proven this to myself, and I have proven this to the world. But I am an alcoholic. And there are times when I have no mental defense against the first drink. There are times when the opportunity presents itself, and I am a pushover. I am a pushover. And I'll tell you something, really. You've heard many times, I'm sure in AA, God don't give you nothing you can't handle. I'm sure you've heard this many times. I've never had the urge to drink since I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I know why. Because I'm a pushover. You give me the opportunity and I'm going to take it. Not because I want to, but because I am an alcoholic and I ain't got no say-so. The guy said, "You want a drink?" And I took the drink. I took a 3-2 bottle of beer on a Sunday afternoon, and I take a drink, the drink takes a drink, and the drink takes the next. That's how simple it is. That's the simplest story I can give you. I take a drink, the drink takes a drink, and the drink takes the next. I take a drink, and I no longer call the shots in my life. I take a drink, and I do things I don't want to do. I do things I don't premeditate doing. They give me a bottle of beer, and I ain't had a drink in a month. I got money in my pocket, new clothes on my back, and a new car at home. I got all the things that I thought it was like all these years I'd been a bud. And now I'm opening up a new beautiful flower, so to speak. I drank 1 3-2 bottle of beer after a month of sobriety, and I rolled the window down in that car, and I reached out and I slapped some girl with the empty bottle who was hitchhiking. Now, if you'd have told me 5 minutes before that time that I was going to seriously injure an innocent bystander, I'd have said to you, "Are you crazy? I would never do nothing like that." But I'm telling you that when I take a drink, the drink takes the drink, and the drink takes the man. When I take a drink, I cannot predict my actions after I take the first drink. There's one thing for sure that I know I'm going to do, only because I am an alcoholic, and the thing that separates me and you from them is the phenomenon of craving. When I take that first drink, something happens to me, and that something's called the phenomenon of craving. Phenomenon of craving. You see, I want to go home now. I mean, not that I haven't done stuff like this in the past, but I don't want to do it now. Now I want to go home. I feel uneasy. I feel embarrassed. I don't have a fifth of whiskey to hide behind. I don't have anybody to blame. I don't have a 3-day drunk. I don't have a case. I don't have nothing. 1 3-2 bottle of beer, and I don't feel good about me. I don't like what I've just done. I want to go home now. I want to go home. I want somebody to hold me. I want somebody to stroke me. I want somebody to say, "It's okay, baby. It's going to be all right. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to hold you. Nobody's going to hurt you. It's all right. You're okay." But I'm an alcoholic, and when I take that first drink, I need a drink more than I need comfort. That's really the whole story of my whole life. It's the story of my whole life. More than I need clothes, more than I need a bath, more than I need food, more than I need rest, more than I need my own personal comfort. They went home, and I kept drinking, and that's how simple it is. It's not because I wanted to. It's only because I'm an alcoholic, and I'm in chronic and progressive stages of alcoholism. And when the drunk was done, that's all. I didn't quit because it's time to go to work. I don't do that. It's not. I want to do that, but I don't have control of that. I've never wanted to do it in the past, but now I want to do it. And I'm finding out how powerless over alcohol I am. I have no idea. I laid on the bathroom floor, sick. I mean, really sick, puke sick. I'm throwing my guts up. This doesn't make sense. How could I have gotten drunk? I didn't say it. If you heard it with your mind and not yours. I wouldn't say it. I'm not from California. Hey. No, I don't see Keith. Does Keith and Sue leave? Did they leave? They left. I want to tell you something. The absolute magical transformation in that man. He has found the Spirit. It has entered into his life, and obviously he now has respect for you and for himself. And he doesn't use that language. Can you imagine a real He-Man, pistol packer, hillbilly Texan talking about they peed on me? Imagine. He finally has respect for you and himself and his God, and we talked about that, and I'm so thrilled to see this powerful transformation in a human being from a sober AA into an instrument of God. Big difference. Anyhow, let's not get into this guy. Let's get into this guy. I lay on that bathroom floor and I couldn't believe I got drunk. I really couldn't believe I got drunk. I was shocked I got drunk. No one was more surprised than I got drunk than me. I mean, I said I wouldn't. It should have been good enough. And I sat on that bathroom floor because it's cool. It's cool. Often makes me wonder why one of us entrepreneurs in AA haven't invented a toilet with a pull-down headrest. Now think about this. Now we know only real alcoholics would buy the toilet, so each group could take turns delivering it because we know who they're going to go to. It'd be like a 12-step call. But you understand? I'm just mixing. Just think about that a while. Just think about that. Not too long. Don't waste too much thought on that crap. So I laid on the bathroom floor and I analyzed what happened. I looked at what happened and I really realized finally what the problem is. I really finally realized, put all the pieces in together and realized that my drinking was their fault. It was those guys' fault. If I hadn't gotten to go with those guys, I wouldn't have got drunk. So I'm not going to hang around with them guys no more. I mean, I have a sincere desire to stay sober, and if these guys are my problem, I'm not going to hang around with these guys. Good decision. Good decision. Not nice guys. Not nice. As a matter of fact, my mom told me when I was 14, she said, Melody, don't hang around with these guys. Same guys. Don't hang around with these guys because they're going to get you in trouble. And by the time I was 17, you know, my mom had a real rare form of honesty. She was telling them guys, don't hang around with my son. He's going to get you in trouble. Didn't stop her from loving me. But she knew. So I'm 24 years old. I'm going to do what my mom says. I ain't going to hang around with these guys no more. Good decision, not nice guys. The only problem is this, and really it's the only problem. It's the only friends I had. I had eliminated 99.9% of the people I'd ever met in my life. I was vulgar, foul-mouthed, abusive, abrasive. I had no respect for you, your family, your property, and I was a cheap chisel and mooch. Things like that do not endear you to strangers. As you well know, I mooched the guy right here in this conference for his tie. Ack. Now there's a few things that are particular to every alcoholic with any really stage of alcoholism that they might be into, and one of the things that's particular to us is loneliness. One of the things that's particular to us is loneliness. You see, I know a lot about being alone. I've never ever once gone to jail. I didn't go to the hole. I never once. That means I've always gotten in trouble while I was in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I always got in a jam while I was in a jam. They'd put me in a hole, and I had a way of going to the hole. I talked to these hacks like as we were traveling down this hallway, like we were old friends. You know what I mean? I talk about their mas and the things their sisters and I had done together and stuff like that, you know. And they know how to deal with wise guys. See, they know how to deal with wise guys. And I tell you honestly that on more than one occasion I've gone 10 to 14 days without talking to another human being, or another human being talking to me. Try that sometimes. It was quite an experience. Really let you know what you're worth. And I've on more than one occasion taken that as a personal challenge. 10, 15, give me another 5. Give me another 5. You ain't going to break me. I took this as a personal challenge to me. So when I talk to you about loneliness, it's not at all like that. It's not at all like that. I mean, I would stay sober now 3, maybe 4 days. That's the best I could get. It's the best I could get. I'd be feeling pretty frisky, feeling pretty good. I'd be standing at work, have my time clock in my hand, 25 after 3. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go home and nail something, fix something, paint something. Maybe I'll paint that cabinet I stole out of that Pollock's garage. I'm going to do all this stuff. Got all this stuff in my hand. I hit that time clock at 3:30, and I get in the car, and I start driving up 55th, and I pass Broadway, and I turn down the alley behind the Hub Cafe, and I walk in the Hub Cafe, and I have a shooter, and I throw the shooter down before I know I'm taking a shooter. And I really mean that. I had no idea I was taking this drink. And not premeditated. It was not something I was going to do. Why, this time it'll be different. Maybe I can handle it. I'm past that stage. I'm drinking, and I really don't want to drink. And I don't really ever know I'm taking this drink until after I take the drink. And I've already told you what happens. I take a drink, the drink takes a man. I've already told you that something happens to me and it doesn't happen to him. It's something's called phenomenon of craving. They wrote that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they put sentences in there that only a real drunk knows. Not again. I have used those words. It's like they knew I was coming. They put my little name on that little page. Not again. How could this be happening again? Not again. I had another illness. I'd throw the drinks up. I'd keep a couple, throw a couple up, and then I'd be okay, and I'd straighten out, and I'd start to feel. It'd start after about an hour or two of drinking, and I realize that I ain't got no friends, and I realize that I'm all alone, and I realize that I ain't happy, and I realize that them guys are down at the Tremendous Lounge, and I'm down here all alone, and I'll go down and see them guys. My sponsor called that melancholy. The book calls it self-pity. So I shuffle my little Pollock self down Broadway, and I get down to the Tremendous Lounge, and why they call it a lounge, I have no idea. Open up the door, there'll be 75 people in that room. I went to school with 50 of them. Went to junior high school with 20 of them, went to elementary school with 10 of them. Guys that I have known since before I had hair under my armpits. Guys, the best friends I've ever had. Guys that I've shed blood for and they for me. The best friends I've ever had. Friends that have made you feel warm. Friends you wanted to leave everybody for just to be with. I'm going down on the corner, Ma. I'm going to be with the guys, Ma. That was me. I was the guys guy. Down on the corner with the guys. And I walk in that room looking for that warmth and that feeling and that fulfillment. There's a room full of people and I'm all alone. Can't reach me. Can't get me. I'm all alone in a room full of people. I let him in once, said I drank up everything. Guy stood up, made a comment, and he said I had a wife who loved me, 3 kids who loved me, a job, and a boss who loved me, and I drank up everything too. I was all alone. It's not what you love me, it's how much I can feel, and I couldn't feel nothing. I was all wrapped up inside this prison called alcoholism. So I belly up to the bar and I have a couple and I start talking and ain't nobody loves me. I don't know what I'm going to do. The boss ain't I'd be slobbering all over this guy, have snot all over his arm. There's 2 kinds of drunks. Nobody likes fighting drunks and weeping drunks. So I spent my whole life being a fighting drunk. Now here I am, slobbering all over, snotting all over this guy. He knows me as a fighting drunk. So I am Ellie, okay? Worst part of it all, I wouldn't pass out. I mean, if I could black out and not remember these humiliating experiences, it'd be one thing, but I'm living in this. The man is leaving the man. It's a shell of a man that's being left. And this is nothing. This is nothing. What I'm telling you is child's play. A fear starts to set in my life that I don't know how to deal with. A fear that is absolutely, it's consuming. A fear that is consuming. And long after alcohol left my system and quit managing my life, fear ran it. Long after. This fear was consuming for me. I was afraid to walk out the door. I was afraid to go to work. This fear doesn't make sense. It really doesn't at all make sense. I would sit on the side of my bed. Now, if there's one thing I know about this is what I know about. This is what I know about this, is that, because I've done enough time, is that when you see these guys doing this, sitting in a chair, not a rocking chair, just sitting in a chair, you start doing this, and then I'll add this. You know the guy is gone. So you know the guy is gone. You give the guy a lot of room because he might take you with him when he goes, because he's going to go somewhere. He's going to go off the edge of a rope, or he's going to go out the window, or he's going to go to the hole. He's going to do something, because that's the obvious sign that this guy is gone. And here I am, 24 years old, with enough prison behind me to know this kind of stuff, and I'm sitting on the side of my bed. And I know it. See, I know it's happening to me, and I can't get it back. I can't get control of my life. I can't stop this, which is what's happening to me. I don't want to walk out the door. Well, maybe they'll drop one of them nuclear bombs on us or something. I can't do this. I can't go on like this, not knowing if I'm going to stay sober, not knowing if I'm going to drink, not knowing where I'm going to go, not knowing what I'm going to do. I can't live like this. I don't know what to do. I walk to work so I don't take the car. If I take the car, I go out at lunchtime. I leave all my money on the table, take a quarter, 2 bits, 2 cups of coffee, and a phone call. If I only got a quarter, I can't go out at lunchtime and drink, and I'm drinking by 11 o'clock. I don't know how that happens. All I know is I'm an alcoholic. And I'm in the chronic and progressed stages of alcoholism. And I get a drink in the middle of the Mojave Desert. I don't know how or why that is, but that's a fact. That's a fact. See, I've never had a lot going for me, but I've always had a lot of hope. I've always been a hope-filled guy. Always, ever since I was little. I used to gather up all the 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and put them on my football team. Come on, line up, we can do it. We'd play the other 14-year-olds. Line up, I'm telling you, get in line, don't be afraid, we can do it, let's do it. Let's do it. Walked in a wishing well, 21 years old. Guy stopped me at the door. He said, Milt, he said, don't go back there. He said, there's 50 guys back there going to beat the snot off of you. Man, I threw my coat off and I flew back there. And they did. but I had hope. See, I had hope. I didn't have no brains. I just had hope that maybe I could do this. I'm sure maybe I could. Now I'm 24 years old and I'm hopeless. I'm 24 years old and I'm all alone. I'm 24 years old and I'm empty. I'm 24 years old and I can't find my way to the end of the tunnel. I can't get out of this. I can't stop this. Ain't no way the pain's going to end. I don't know what to do about this. No sense in trying, you know. I'm a drunk. I'm going to die drunk, and that's the way it is. I believe at this time that I was powerless over alcohol, and that my life was unmanageable, and I knew it. Do you believe it? Did I convince you of A? I think so. I think so. But no human power could or would please. Won't you know who I am? I can do this thing. I just got to find the right formula, the right combination. Maybe I can make it. I stood before a judge in April or May 1970, pounded on that thing. He said, I find you guilty, shooting with intent to kill an officer of the law, and I sentence you to 1 to 20 years. And I'll tell you something, after what I just described you, I'll tell you something. I stood before the judge, and they're putting this stuff all over me and chaining me up and locking me up. I'm thinking to myself, you can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. There's nothing more you can do to me. You can't hurt me at all. Now, that's a terrible statement for a human being with a soul to make, but that's just the way it was. You could not inflict any more pain upon me. What's the guy going to do to me? What is this judge going to do to me? What's he going to take away my freedom? Does it sound to you like I live free? Does it sound to you like I was happy? Does it sound to you like I was doing what I wanted to do? I'm telling you, I was held captive long before I went to the penitentiary. Inside a bottle of whiskey. What could you as members of society do to me? What could you do? What are you going to do? Take away my loved ones? It's the whole idea. We're going to deny them something. Selfish people don't love, they use. What could you do to me that alcoholism and my own selfishness hadn't already done to me? You just couldn't hurt me no more. There's a few guys in this room. There's a few guys in this room who have beaten dogs. Beaten dogs to where they've taken the animal out of the beast. And it ain't even an animal no more. Just trembles and wets, trembles and shakes. That's all I was. I was beaten. It just trembled. It just hurt. It was all alone. Sat in the county jail. Well, go to the penitentiary. I sobered up in that county jail. And I sobered up because the day before I went to court, the guys got together and was having a going away party for me like I was leaving for college or ROTC or something. I sobered up in that cell and two things became clear. One is that I wasn't in that cell because I squeezed the triggers, and in that cell because I was a drunk. That's all. You know, I never got that. Can you understand that? I never got that. I never seen drink trouble, drink trouble, drink trouble. Never got that. Never understood that every time I'm in these cells, I'm sober now. Never seen that. Never seen that. Drink trouble, drink trouble. Never got it. Never got it. And the second thing I got sitting in the cell was this. Is that if I'm not in this cell because I squeezed the trigger, if I'm in this cell because of my drinking, and I just did everything I could to stop drinking, and was a failure and got drunk every time, then if I do 1, 5, 10 to the whole 20, when I get out of here, I'm going to drink again. When I drink again, I'm going to come back again. And I had my whole life right in front of me. I had it all right in front of me, and I didn't like what I seen. You see, I don't mind taking a beating. I don't mind taking a beating, but you ain't going to beat me up forever. Not forever. Two of the magic little words they got in that fourth step is we quit getting even. Quit getting even. We don't get mad and we don't get even. That's what it says in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous after we pray for those who have injured us. We don't get mad and we don't get even. I was always getting even. So you could beat me, but you ain't gonna beat me forever. I don't even mind being a loser, but not forever. not forever. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous got a magic line in it. The magic line is this. It says, there are those who make the supreme sacrifice rather than fight again. The supreme sacrifice rather than fight again. And there's a lot of guys in Cleveland in the suburban jails. They took the camera out of the felony tank and put it in the drunk tank. They had 3 suicides in a month. Not murderers, just simple drunks sitting in there, not ready to fight again. Not ready to go another round. Not ready to face the penalties for their actions. Not ready to face the humiliation and degradation of their own little alcoholism. And rather than fight again, they take off their underwears or their t-shirts or the ties or something, string themselves up. That day in that cell, I knew that they would never hurt me no more, and I did something in that cell that was more against my nature than suicide. It was more against my will than taking my own life, and it's the toughest thing I'd ever done, even up till this point. It's called surrender. Surrender. I knew I couldn't do this, and I needed help. I just can't. Somebody help me. Somebody help me. Now, I told you about that male pride. See, that male pride's a deadly thing. It's a deadly thing. I got in a gunfight up on 55th. Didn't bring a gun. When the smoke had cleared, I had one in this arm, and it's still in there. Went right in the bone. Right in the bone. They can't get it out. But at that time, my arm was paralyzed. I caught one in the head, and blood is running down over my eyes, and here, and here, and here. And I'm trying to get out the door, and I get out the door, and I'm trying to wipe this blood out of my eyes so I can see what's going to happen next. And a couple of things come real clear to me. One is I'm in serious trouble. Losing a lot of blood, and I know I'm losing a lot of blood. And I know the hospital's 18 blocks away, and I ain't got no car. And I'm telling you that my life depended on asking someone for a ride. I'd rather die first. So when I tell you that I reached the point where I asked for help, I'm telling you that my pain was greater than my pride, and my pride is deadly. You must know how great the pain was for me to give it up. You must know how hopeless and how empty and a shell of a man that I was to help me. I just can't do this. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Total surrender. Bill Wilson talks about total surrender in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. He said he was lifted out of his room and put on top of a mountain in the wind of truth, and the spirit of freedom or something was blowing by him. He called it a spiritual experience. And I'm here today to tell you this, that day in that cell, in that county jail in 1970, in that moment of total surrender, I had a spiritual experience. Oh, I don't mean I was lifted out of that room. I don't mean I had flashes of light. I don't mean that. I mean that I believe that God works through people. I believe he works through her and me and you and them. He works through people. Because that day in that cell, in that moment of total surrender, God sent me a messenger. Messenger. And the message was this. Alcoholics Anonymous. So, that's all in that moment of total surrender. See, God is right on time. All I got to do is get out of the way. That's all I got to do. I don't have to know no big prayers. All I got to do is say, I can't do it. And that day in that cell, B became clear to me. No human power could have relieved my alcoholism, and I was the human power. That day I surrendered up my force, my will to keep pushing and grabbing and shoving and fighting. Help me. Help me. And in that moment, and I'll tell you something, what I know about God, there ain't no 3-day waiting period. You surrender, God shows up. Boom. That's it. That's it. Just like that. Right on time. Right on time. Here's a guy 2 bunks away from me talking to another guy, and he's telling this guy, this new guy who's going down for his first number, he's telling this guy, he said, man, if you've ever been popped for DWI, drunken disorder, public intox, join a program called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm close enough to hear the message. And that's the first time those words have ever caressed my mind, Alcoholics Anonymous. It was only God's grace that allowed me to recognize the truth. I mean, I'd like to tell you, 10 seconds before that, I was a dumb Polak, and then I got hip, slick, and cool. But that ain't the case. It's only through God's grace that I managed to grasp the truth, and the truth is Alcoholics Anonymous. And the truth doesn't need support. I mean, it is the truth, whatever it is. Gold is gold. Whether it's in Fort Knox or a garbage can, it doesn't change it. Truth is truth, whether it comes out of an honest man's mouth or a liar. My problem is I've never recognized the truth, really. God gave me the grace to recognize the truth, and I know it was God's grace. And I know it was God's grace because the guy that was doing the talking was a liar, and I know he was a liar. No reason for me to believe that guy. He was a convict. Convicts are liars. I know how to do time. You lie to me for 20 minutes, I'll lie to you for 20 minutes. We'll lay down, take a little nap, come back and start lying all over again. That's how convicts do time. No one ever, have I ever heard anyone say, I don't know if that's the truth, I'm going to call your mom. No one cares. No one cares. All you're doing is time. You ain't doing nothing but time. No one cares. So it's got to be God's grace that allows me to recognize the truth coming out of the mouth of the liar. Now I got the message, Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's all that guy was a message. There's no reason for me to believe that guy. In a couple of months, he's going to be a McNugget. He's in there for murder one. They're going to cook him and set his little self up. There ain't no way in the world I would believe that guy if it wasn't for God's grace, and that's how simple it is. That's really how simple it is. I got the message. God gave me the message. What I do with the message and what you do with the message is totally up to us, ain't it? It's totally up to us. We both got the message. Here, both of our stories are at the same time what we do with the message. I got the message. I got the message. I'll tell you this. I got down to the penitentiary and I joined Alcoholics Anonymous. That's not exactly true. I got to the penitentiary and I went to an AA meeting. You see, I'm one who believes that if you're going to be something, you got to do something. I mean, if I take this chair, put it in the chicken coop, nobody's going to say, look at that chicken. If I'm going to be a chicken, I got to do something. You know what I'm saying here? I can sit in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous till moss grows on the north side of my body. If I don't do nothing, I ain't in AA. I ain't in AA. I got to do something. I got to do something. And the first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous that I went to just like I suppose most. I walked in the room with my usual Jimmy Cagney all over my face, 2 legs on the chair leaning against the wall so no one can sneak up on me, daring you to talk to me. See, if there's one thing I know about this, the biggest, meanest, baddest guys in the valley. I didn't say it. Are usually the most afraid. From my own experience, the most fear-filled. And I sat in the back of the room, daring. And the guy gets up and leads the meeting, and he never talks about drunkenness. All he talks about is alcoholism. All he talks about is loneliness and fear, pain, horror. Living his life like I just described to you. He talked about all the secrets that I had inside of me that I couldn't give to anyone, couldn't share with anyone, that were eating me alive like a little cancerous tumor. There's an emptiness inside of me, a void, and that has been a spiritual void, and it's never been filled until I went to the Newberg group. Now when I come to AA, when I went to Newberg group, spiritual void. I heard a guy describe it as a God-sized hole. I had that in my guts, and this guy talked about all of the things that was going on inside me that nobody knew about. He shared his experiences and his strengths, and he gave me back my hope. I'm telling you, in my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I felt it happen. I felt it happen. I felt the flicker of hope in my soul, if you will. In my soul, I felt it happen. Somebody knows. Somebody understands. Somebody got it. They got the same thing I got. They got a solution. This guy shared his experiences and his strengths, and he gave me back my hope. And when the meeting was over, I picked up an ashtray and I emptied it. I was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous from my first meeting. I got busy. I stay busy because I know how to stay sober. I know how to stay sober. And when the next meeting comes, I set the tables up. And when the next meeting comes, I knock the tables down. And when the next meeting comes, I got coffee duty. Oh, it ain't like that. We'll put it in. Coffee duty was in officers' dining room across the yard, and it was in a 15-gallon soup pot. And I'd grab that pot like that kung fu guy, man. I'd wrap my arms around that pot, and I'd be carrying it across the yard. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous because I got busy. Now, I know you might not believe this, but I used to be a very excitable guy. So when I say that I got busy, I mean I got busy. I go to these Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. That's 1 hour right on the button. Right now, 1 hour. Don't start whining about the Pollock from Cleveland. Don't start. Bigger numbers. You go to these meetings, they said the goofiest stuff I've ever heard in my life. Stuff that was absolutely bizarre. Stuff that was unbelievable. Listen to this. Listen to this. If you want to keep it, give it away. If you have $2 and want to keep it, give it to someone. What do they think? I just come from Cananagua? What are they saying to me? What are they saying to me? I mean, does that make sense to you? Really? Does that make sense to your intelligent mind? If you want to keep it, give it away. That makes absolutely no sense at all. But it works. That's all I know. It's Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the arithmetic of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's how we add in AA. It's just a little bit different. Just like it says in the fourth step. Let's take a different view of this person who has hurt us. What do you mean a different view? The motherfucker. So we look at things a little different. If you want to keep it, give it away. And that's the secret to it all, isn't it? Service. I don't care what you do. Shake hands, ask shoes. Now, I won't insult your intelligence by telling you that I stay sober on coffee cups and ashtrays. I mean, you're not that dumb. But I will tell you this. I bought time with unselfish acts and good works until I could work the steps. I bought time with handshaking and coffee cups, and I bought time until I could work the steps. And in the steps is where the freedom is. In the steps is where the freedom is. What's the tradition say? Here's the tradition. It says the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. The only requirement for the kindergarten is that you be born before a certain date. That don't get you no education. That just gets you in the door. The requirement for Alcoholics Anonymous don't get you nothing but in the door. In the door. And if that's all you want to do is stand in the doorway, you have missed the really big show. Have missed the really big show. See, God wants us to believe in Him. He'll do anything He has to do in order for us to believe in Him. He really will. Any miracle that's necessary. I'm sure you've heard it sitting in one of these clubs or one of these meetings. A guy come running in, I got a job. They hired me. I knew they'd never hire me. Should have never hired me. I did this and they hired me. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. 2 million people hired every month in America. One alcoholic gets a job. It's a miracle. And it is. I ain't taking that away from God, but it's our own personal miracle. It's just something that we know shouldn't have happened, and that's God letting us know He's there for us. It's a miracle. It really is. But there are those in Alcoholics Anonymous who don't get it. There are those in Alcoholics Anonymous who are dumb as bricks. And I am one of them. See, I didn't get it. I couldn't deny I was sober. I couldn't deny the fact I was powerless over alcohol. My life was unmanageable. No human power could have relieved alcoholism. But God couldn't. What if He were sought? I don't know. I don't know this God. I don't know nothing about no God. I got no God. I never once asked myself, well, now the sun comes up every day. It goes down all the time at the same time. I never asked myself this stuff. What a small world I lived in. Small pea-brain little world that I lived in. Never asked myself. So I say this to you, my path to God is paved with 1,000 alcoholics just like you who told their stories. 1,000 alcoholics who are living undeniable proof that there is a God. And He can do things for me, and all I got to do is ask Him, search Him out. So God will do any miracle He has to do for me. This ain't just for us. This ain't even a new thing, This ain't even a new thing. Did you ever hear the story about the guy riding on a horse going to crucify some Christians, kill their kids and stuff? Did you ever hear the story? He's riding on a horse, and God hits him with a lightning bolt. Knocks him off the horse. Big time miracle. Big time miracle. God said, can we talk? You bet. Well, you couldn't deny the miracle. You couldn't deny the miracle. Boom. Hey, yes. I'm in a joint a year. I go to the parole board. The parole board says we've got no alternative but to give you 5 years. You're a detriment to the decent people of society. He said, you got anything to say for yourself? What can I say? I have my whole record in front of me. The only defense I had is I'm in AA now. I mean, ain't nothing else going for me. Pressed the little buzzer, 2 big hacks come in and took me back to my cell. I lay down on my rack and I tell you, if I wasn't such a real tough guy, I'd cry. If I wasn't a real man, I'd cry. Because it's not fair. I want to tell you something, it just ain't fair. I've been in this joint here and I ain't been to the hole and it ain't fair. I'm trying to do something in my life and it ain't fair. It ain't fair that I caught this nickel. It just ain't fair. But I did something that day in that hell I've never done before in my adult life. And that was I said a prayer, my first prayer. And Alcoholics Anonymous, the prayer you gave me, God grant me the serenity. I'll do every day this 5 years. God, I just don't want to drink no more. I just don't want to drink no more. It's that I can do this buffalo without any trouble at all. No trouble at all. I just don't want to drink no more. 20 minutes after I say that prayer, they call me back to the parole board. Big time miracle. Big time miracle. So we changed our mind. Changed our mind. Now I don't get it. See, I don't get it. This doesn't make sense. If I'd have bought the parole board, that would make sense. If I'd intimidated somebody, that would make sense. But all I did was say a prayer and I got an answer. And that day, in that penitentiary, I took a chance and said a prayer and I got an answer. And I come to believe that there is a God who really listens to me when I pray, when I make this request, a God that can do things for me that I cannot do for myself. A God more powerful than me, more powerful than a parole board, more powerful than whiskey. I got a big time God. Big time God. Parole board said they changed their mind. I'm going to give me 3 years instead of 5. And I tell you, if I would have known the power of prayer that day in that cell, I'd have said 3 prayers, walked out that afternoon. It's the only joke I got. The only joke I got. And really the only reason I say that is because we don't need to cry. This is a great thing that we're doing. This is a wonderful thing. I'm going to give me 3 years. I stepped out in Alcoholics Anonymous community and I got busy, got a job, started this, do this, started a group inside the walls, did all kinds of stuff that was beyond my own capability. Only because I knew that there was a God. Couldn't would if he was sought, and I saw him. I saw him, I got busy and I sought him. I don't seek him the way I did then, but I did the best I could what I had. I sought this power to get away from myself, to get close to him. A year later, they let me go home. Now, it's a long story. I mean, I would not waste your time, but it would take a long time to tell it, so I'll tell you this story, short story. Did you ever hear this story? Did you ever hear the story about the apostle or disciple or whatever he was, nailed, chained down in a cell, had a guard on each side of him, both of the guards are armed, and the angel comes down from heaven and says to the guy, said, hey man, get out of here. Guy says, can't you see the condition I'm in? The angel says you got a job to do and a message to carry. Get out of here. The chains fell off, and he stood up, and the guards didn't wake up, and he went over to the door, and the door opened up, and he walked out, went over the wall, and helped all kinds of people. If you don't believe that story, you ain't gonna believe how I got out of prison. So it's just that simple. I just tell you the short story. You know about that story? I wouldn't have bought it either if it hadn't happened for me. The angel come down and said to me, said, hey, Milty, get out of there. I said, did you see the condition I'm in? Said you got a job to do and a message to carry, and the doors opened up and I walked out of that prison, and that's really the simplicity of the whole deal. It really is the simplicity. That was in 1972. I still owe the parole board 2 years. You want to know something? They don't get it. You want to know they ain't going to get it? Because I don't break the law. I don't drink, I don't break the law. I don't drink, I don't break the law. I ain't had a traffic ticket, I ain't had a parking ticket, I ain't had squat. Man, it's just a natural thing. It's not that I'm a good law-abiding citizen. I just don't do that stuff. Just don't do that stuff. That's in 72. No, that's not. So that's never the whole story. You know, do you ever notice that about drugstores? There's always more to the story. There's always another story. 1980, I got 3 kids. 1980, I got 3 of the most beautiful babies you ever want to see in your life. They called me back to the parole board. They said, come on down to Columbus. We've made a mistake. We've changed our mind. We're going to give you complete governor's pardon for all your crimes. You're no longer a convicted felon. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say to you. What do you want me to say to you? You want me to say thanks for what? I don't know. I don't do nothing what every drunk in this room does. What do you want me to pay? What do you want me to do to you? What do you want me to do for you? What do I owe you? See, because without you, I am a convicted felon. And now I have multiple convictions. Without you, I'm in serious trouble. What do I have to do for you? You want me to come to Buffalo? You want me to come to Chicago? You want me to come to these places? You want me to lead a meeting? You want me to tell you a story? I'll do that. You want me to pray for you? I'll do that. You want me to take you to meetings? I'm going to sponsor you. I'll do that. Tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. Because I owe big. Because I got out a lot more out of Alcoholics Anonymous than not drinking. I got a lot more out of AA than sobriety. And I'll tell you a secret. This is my own personal secret. I do not want crumbs anymore. I've had crumbs all my life. I don't even want a piece of the cake. I want the whole damn cake. And I want 2 layers of frosting and the whipped cream on top of that and cherry on top of that. I want all that Alcoholics Anonymous has to offer me, and I'm ready to work for it. See, I always wanted a new car. I just didn't want the payments. I have not come across one shortcoming, one character defect in my life that separates me from you that I've wanted to keep. I've got an awful lot that have been there for years and years and years, but I've got a sixth and seventh stem. These are yours, and I want you to remove them and humbly ask, and he will when he's ready. So when he's ready, but I want it all. I'm ready to work for it, every step, every defect, and every shortcoming. Does this make sense to you? Simplest is as simple as pie. It's the simplest program. We got a bunch of guys. I'm not going to say meeting. A bunch of guys come over to the house. We read this little book, this blue book here. This book. We just read this book and talk about stuff, and it's been going on really years, and it's gotten big a lawyer showed up. Now I don't want you to think I hang around with these kind of people. I'm a murderer, bank robber, a puncher guy. I don't hang around with these other kind of people. I'm not that kind of guy. But he shows up at the door and he sits down and he walks out of the house Thursday and he makes this astute observation. He says, you got a funny way of looking at that book. The dumb guy approach. I got the dumb guy approach to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Ain't nobody too dumb to read the book at my house. A lot of guys too smart, but ain't nobody too dumb. So I say to you from the bottom of my heart, if you want what we got, do what we do. That's easy enough, isn't it? If you want what we got, do what we do. Get this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous because they talk about the book. Talk about the book. Done? We done? Done? End it up? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. Okay, this is good. Very, very important. They talk about the book. You know, when I was in that penitentiary, they talked about this book. Really, they talked about this book. Get the book, read the book, it's in the book. The book. What book? I ain't got no book. Book. That's all they talked about was book. The library did not rent me my first book of Alcoholics Anonymous. No one gave me my first book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I did not buy my first book of Alcoholics Anonymous. How did I get my first book? You betcha I stole it. You're absolutely right. I stole the first book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The guy from the outside come walking in. He got the book in his hand. He sees somebody, knows he puts the book down and goes, there. Now I got the book. I go back to my rack, I got this book that everybody's talking about. The book. I'll tell you something about the book. You can't have 18 of them, but you don't read it, don't do you no good. You don't read the book, it don't do you no good. I got back in my rack and I got the book in my hot lead hand, opened up the page, and where was running the rap? In New England town, I turned the page. I forgot what I read. I mean, I just had no retention of what I was reading. Turned the page back and he was in the Winchester Cathedral walking through the boneyard, and I turned the page. What I read. I turned the page back and Grenadier died by the musket or dies by the pipe. This book don't even make no sense. What's in this book? It's in this book. This book don't make no sense. Davy died. This Davy guy. No more dancing. This guy gets nuts when he dances. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had no retention. I had no understanding of what was going on inside the book. The secret to the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is in the jacket. The jacket says it's a textbook. My kids bring textbooks home from school. They open it up, they read it, and they study it. Next thing they bring textbooks home from school, they read it and they study it. And if they don't understand what's in the textbooks that they bring home and study, you know what we do? We get a tutor. Someone who has read the book and is willing to impart upon them knowledge that they have gained from that book. And I say to you, if there's something inside this textbook of Alcoholics Anonymous, because it's not recreational reading, it's a textbook. If there's something inside this book that you do not understand, I suggest you get a tutor. Let that be a sponsor, someone who has read this book and is willing to impart upon you the knowledge that they've gained from this book. And if you haven't read the textbook, I tell you without any doubt in my mind, you know nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you have a sponsor, and there's an awful lot of this going around, and he ain't read the textbook of Alcoholics Anonymous, and neither one of you know nothing. You got a second-hand know nothing, both of you as dumb as bricks, and that's just the way I feel. Neither one is I'll tell you this, and I won't even go out on a limb with this, because this is just first time, my opinion. If you have a sponsor, and he does not strongly suggest that you read the book or offer to work to read the book with you, get another sponsor. because I have a disease called alcoholism, and it is a deadly disease, and it will kill me. And it will not kill me quick like a 9mm. It will kill me slow, a day at a time, an inch at a time, and very painfully. And it ain't going to stop until I take my last breath. And from being in Alcoholics Anonymous as long as I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous, I realized something else. It don't stop then, because when it's done with taking my last breath, it wants my kids. It wants the fear that I've created in these kids, the unmanageability I've shown these kids. It wants everything that I've done to this family, and it wants their lives too. And I tell you this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the chain of alcoholism for generations in my family is broken through bad example. My son has a God, trusts in a God, has a love for his father, and a service to his fellow man. And I owe that to you. I owe that to you. My family is free from that bad example of alcoholism. So if you're sitting in this room and you ain't got no book, if you're sitting in this room and your pride is so great you cannot ask for a book, what? Don't you steal nothing. You get a job and you save your money and you buy one. This is not the penitentiary. A job. Go to Buffalo, there, a redheaded kid's hiring. He's a big shot at the gasoline station. What station? TV station. One of the stations. I guess one says There was a little girl that went to Europe, and while she was in Europe, she visited all the cathedrals. And as she was going through the cathedrals, she asked the guide who the people were on the stained glass windows, and the guide told her that those was the saints. And when she got home and everybody asked that little girl what she'd seen while she was in Europe, she says, I have seen the saints. And when they asked her who the saints were in her innocence, that little girl, she said, the saints are the ones that let the light in. And I say this to you in my innocence, and man, I got it. You people in this room in Alcoholics Anonymous throughout, and particularly at the Newberg group, let the light in for me. All that I have and all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I got from you guys 22 years and 7 months and 25 days ago. And if I'm lost to take and ask myself, what is the greatest thing that Alcoholics Anonymous has given me, the greatest thing of all the things, and I got a lot of things, the answer would be this, and it's very simple. I have a God. I have a God. I have a God. And if you were to take this God and everything he's given me and these 12 steps and everything they've given me and ask me, what is the greatest of all these things? I would have to, without any shadow of doubt in my mind, say the greatest thing I've got from this God and from you is love. I know that might sound strange for a shooter who's been in the penitentiary and did all the things that I just described to you, but I'm telling you, what I know at 22 years and 7 months and 25 days is the greatest thing I've got from all of these things combined is love. And there's two factors I know about love today in my life, and one is that if I love you, I will not hurt you. And if I love you, I will be your servant. And I thank you for allowing me to serve you today, and God bless you.